This stretch is designed to get the front of the left thigh muscles here. So what I'm doing here is on an elevated surface, a bench, a couch, or a table, or whatever, you're laying one leg onto that surface, and then with the other leg, you're marching up as high as you feel comfortable. The higher you march, the more challenging this exercise will be. And then you're gonna sink down, allow the left hip to try to touch the table or the couch or whatever elevated surface you use. Then you're gonna reach back and try to grab this leg. If you can't fully grab it, you can use a strap, a towel, or a surface to wrap around this ankle so you can pull on it if this is all you have. But ideally, you'll slowly start to get to the point where you can actually reach towards this ankle and then get a little bit more of a pull. And then if you want, you can rotate and open your body up a little bit. This will maximize the stretch. So there are a couple different variables you can use. You can march this leg higher, you can drop this hip closer to the table, or you can bend this leg a little bit more. This stretch is designed to get the front of the left hip here. So what I have here is a bench or an elevated surface, and I'm gonna lay on it, and with the bottom leg, I'm gonna march up as high as I feel comfortable. The higher I move this leg up, the more my pelvis is gonna rotate this way, which is gonna stretch the left hip. So as I bring this leg up, let's say this is my max here, and I'm gonna slowly start to sink into that left hip. So I'm gonna go as low as I feel comfortable. If this is challenging, you can put a pillow or a surface here to prop your hips up, but ideally you can start to slowly sink into that left hip and get everything onto the table or the bench. You may feel a little bit of a stretch in the right hip, that's fine, but the goal here is to make sure you get a stretch in that left hip, the front of the left hip.
Okay, so here's a half kneeling hip flexor and quad stretch. If kneeling down on your knee is uncomfortable, you can add some extra padding. So maybe it's a pillow, maybe it's a little AirX pad. Get something under your knee for comfort. And now what we're going to be doing is we're actually stretching and targeting this side. So it's really important to, before you begin the stretch, perform this posterior pelvic tilt. Sort of squeeze your butt muscles on this side. That's gonna drive your hip a little bit forward. And now I want you to pull your ribs down, activate your abs a little bit. You can even stay a little bit leaning forward because we don't want to be doing this. So we're here, and then you're going to lean forward. You're going to hold this position. You should feel a nice stretch in front of your left hip. If you want to progress this stretch, you can also keep these muscles squeezed here and lift your foot up off the ground. You're going to feel a good hamstring contraction as you do this, but it'll also increase that stretch in front of the thigh. It's important to not arch your back as you lift that foot up off the ground. So this is a dynamic standing Thomas stretch. Focus on the hip flexors with shoulder drivers. What that means is I'm using my shoulders to drive more hip extension and really to increase the amount of stretch. So as I drive my arms up into the air, I'm driving this motion of shifting my weight forward. There's a couple of things to focus on. I need to make sure that I stay tucked under, squeezing my left butt muscles, not completely arching and flaring the front of my body and my ribs, or else I'm not gonna get as much stretch here. So I'm focused on resisting that motion as my arms drive up overhead.